What is up, everybody? Welcome back. This is the undefeated post-weigh-in show for UFC Vegas 29. We're talking UFC fights tomorrow on Saturday. A sketchy-ass card with lots of opportunities for violence. I am pumped up. I'm excited. We just got done watching the weigh-ins. I took a look at the body language, checked out these fighters as they got on and off the scales. Of course, check them out at weigh-ins, get one last look at who's got the height, the reach advantage, and then I communicate all that information to you and see if we can find any little reads where we can put some additional money in our pocket tomorrow. So let's break this card down. Let's take a look at what we saw this morning. Starting off the fight night, we had Casey O'Neill, who came in at 125.5 pounds, taking on Laura Procopio, who came in at 126. Now, Casey O'Neill, she looked a little tired to me. Now, that's not crazy because when these people are getting on these scales, a lot of them cut the last little bit of weight first thing in the morning. They might be coming straight from the treadmill or the sauna, so not crazy, but also not something that you necessarily like to see. She looked all right. She gave the one-arm flex. Laura Procopio came off, and she had a big smile on her face. She gave a good solid flex. You could see her abs popping. Procopio's in shape. She's ready to go. When they faced off, this was an intense face-off. I mean, these women got up in each other's grills. They had to be separated. Like, this is going to be a fun fight. These women are out for blood. I'm super excited here. Not a whole lot to steer me one way or the other on the read, right? They sized up extremely well. I thought that O'Neill was going to have a height and reach advantage here in this fight. As a Procopio backer, it feels pretty good that she doesn't. I like that they size up the way that they do, and I'm looking forward to hopefully cashing a ticket. If you're leaning one way or the other, there's nothing on the scales that's going to tip me as far as my original read on this fight, so I'm rocking with Procopio. Next up, we've got Neto BJJ. Joaquim Silva came in at 154.5, taking on Rick Glenn, who is 156, and Silva was insanely shredded. Stupid good shape, this guy. Huge flex. He looked confident. I mean, shit, I could make ice cubes on his abs. He had that big of cuts between the muscles on his abdominals. It was ridiculous the kind of condition this guy's in. Rick Glenn came in and he looked fine. A bit sucked out maybe, but he's going up a weight class, so we shouldn't be too worried about that. There's a bit of a long layoff. Don't know exactly how hard he was training for this. He kind of retired from MMA a little bit and then came back, I think. So really not quite sure what to make of Ricky Glenn moving up here. But at the face-off, you notice that Ricky Glenn had a significant height and reach advantage here. So even though he's coming up a weight class from his usual fights, he still is somehow the bigger man. It was intense. It was a good face-off. I've got the under on this one. I'm just looking for violence. I think that one of these guys is going to be able to find a hole in the game of their opponents, and maybe the size advantage or disadvantage for Ricky, whichever one it turns up being, gives the opportunity for him or his opponent to get that finish. So I'm just looking for violence there on that fight. Next up, we've got my guy Chaos Williams coming in at 169, taking on Matthew Selmsberger, 170. Chaos was jacked. Absolutely jacked. This guy has been putting in work. I went back and looked at some of his previous face-offs, previous weigh-ins. He has not looked this muscular ever. So he's putting in some serious work. He looks good. I'm impressed with what I saw on the scales. I like that. Now, good solid flex from Selmsberger, and I got to admit the guy's got a solid beard game. He rocked up really good on the facial hair. Size advantage came to Selmsberger when they had the face-off. Another intense face-off. You expect to see that with Chaos. He's the kind of guy that pushes that always. A little bit miffed about the size advantage for Matt, but again, size isn't everything in MMA. We know this. I think that this is still going to be an absolute war. A lot of money's been coming in on Matt. I hear nothing online but Matt. Nobody's on the Chaos train for this one, so I'm kind of on an island. Messed up the line. I wasn't expecting to get a better number later in the week, so I pulled the trigger earlier. I've got a big fat bet on Chaos Williams. I think he finds the chin of Matt Selmsberger and puts him down at some point in this fight, and the only thing that I can say really sways me on this weigh-in is how good Chaos looked on the scales. The extra muscle mass, I think that's something that's going to benefit him. He's already got the death touch. If he is more explosive, if he hits harder, then that's only going to assist him in that venture. Next up, we got Kanako Murata, came in at 114.5, taking on Verna Jandiroba, who hit 115 on the dot. And Kanako, this chick's got some arms. Like, she is thick in the arms, and she is so fun. She gave a goofy pose at the end of her face-off. I love Kanako. I cannot express just the joy that she brings to me. She's a welcome breath of fresh air at these things. Always goofy, always smiling, having a good time. I love when fighters are like that. Jandiroba looked good. She gave a big flex and a big smile. She's in good spirits, looking solid at 115. Jandiroba's got a decent size advantage here on this one. We've talked about it before, though, that the size advantage can backfire when you're fighting a wrestler. So with Kanako Murata being the type of chain grappler that she is, having Jandiroba with a significant height advantage doesn't necessarily help, because if Kanako can get in on those hips a little bit easier, she may be able to force those takedowns and get the game plan going where she wants it to be. I was extremely tempted to put a bet on Vera Jandiroba here. I feel like this is a step down for her and a step up again for Murata, but I don't really like the line specifically. I've got Jandiroba in my Hail Mary submission special parlay. I think she's got the opportunity to land a choke here, but from a betting perspective, just a side, I don't think I want to pick a side here in this fight. I'm leaning to Jandiroba. I think she'll be good enough to go ahead and get this one, but if Murata is solid on her submission defense and she's got the wrestling here, she probably just grinds out a 15-minute decision. So really sketchy fight, not one that I'm interested in putting a whole lot of hard-earned money on. Next up, Alexia Camur taking on Nicolae Negumereanu. I got to work on that kid's last name. Aleksa came in at 204.5. Nicolae came in at 205.5. Aleksa jogged up to the scale. I mean, really light, looking fluid, good movement, but he was a bit soft. I mean, he's got that type of body. He's not the kind of guy that comes in just shredded, jacked up or anything like that, so no big surprise there. Nicolae came in looking solid. He gave a big flex, a double flex actually. He did the up and then he did the down. He got both of them there, so good, solid look from Nicolae. No issues there. These guys size up really well. I mean, slight size advantage went to Alexia Camur, but really nothing to be worried about or write home about. Respectful face-off. Not a whole lot of opinion here. I think it's a dog or pass spot. I'm not sold on Camur. I just don't really, I'm not buying in on this kid. And his opponent is a guy that we haven't seen in 2 years. He fought really, really bad competition before getting to the UFC. Did not impress in his debut, but he took a lot of time off. So I kind of expect levels up from him, but no idea what the game plan is going to be like or how this fight is going to play out. So big, big pass for me. Taking a shot on the dog would be the only way I could possibly look. And the face-offs, the weigh-ins, none of that changes here because they both came in relatively on point for what they do. Matt Brown taking on Dhiego Lima. Matt came in at 170.5. Dhiego came in at 171. Matt Brown was excited when they read off the weight on the scales. He jumped off the scale, but he looked old, man. I'm not gonna lie. He's 40, but he looked worn this time. He looked like he was he aged from the last time that we saw him on the scales. Dhiego Lima came in great shape. He looked really good. I was actually really impressed with Dhiego Lima. Slight size advantage to Lima, respectful face-off. This is a spot where it was another dog or pass situation for me. The chin issues that Lima has expressed, the power of Matt Brown, the wrestling offense of Matt Brown. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter. The problem is Matt Brown has durability problems himself. It's a potential for an underspot, but Dhiego Lima looks so damn good at the weigh-ins. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on Matt Brown going against him here. Again, my lean is to the dog here, but this is an old man fight. Both these guys are rusty. Both these guys have problems getting hit, so it could end at any point in time. They could just do a snooze fest up against the cage. Again, this entire card, sketchy as fuck. There's all kinds of bad situations. We have no clue how these fights are going to play out, so just be careful on that one. But the point being, Dhiego Lima looked really solid on the scales today. Wellington Turman taking on Bruno Silva. Turman came in at 185.5. Bruno Silva came in at 186. And Wellington Turman, he looked focused, man. He looked mean. He was stoic up there on the scales, no emotion whatsoever. Bruno Silva came in, good shape. Really no issues with him either. I was hoping to see maybe a little bit of something because we know he tested for performance-enhancing drugs the last time out, and that's why he's been gone for 2 years. I was hoping to see maybe a weakness in his physicality or something like that. Nothing to be seen. These guys size up really well, and it was a really intense face-off. You could tell both of them really need the win. And it's striker versus grappler, so I think there's a lot of opportunity for both of these guys to get finished. Again, maybe an underlook. This is probably the best way that you could go. I see a lot of people taking the dog shot on Wellington Turman. I don't hate it. The only problem is, if Silva fights anything like we've seen him outside the UFC, he will weather the storm, get up, and then punch him in the face, and Turman's not going to do well once he starts doing that. So, again, another violence bet look for me. Next up, Julian Erosa taking on Seung Choi. Erosa came in at 145.5. Tall, long, shredded, moved very, very well. Same old Juicy J we're used to seeing. Seung Choi came in at 146. He did need the box of shame. This kid was absolutely shredded, and honestly, he looked really focused. He looked lasered in on this one and moved well, no issues. So even though he needed the box of shame, I don't see any problems with him or his performance. These guys sized up really well, and it was a really good face-off. We talked about this on the Monday show. Again, another violence bet spot. I've got the under because Juicy J pushes a pace, and he either breaks you or he breaks himself on you. This is a spot where I kind of lean to Seung Choi, and I think I might end up placing that bet on Seung Choi. I was hoping the line would get a little bit better. There's been some love for Julian Erosa out there, and I think I might even play the Seung Choi by knockout line because Juicy J, like I said, he brings the fight, and unless he gets you out of there, he eats shots. That's what he does. He takes one to give one, and he doesn't have much of a chin these days. Seung Choi hits pretty damn hard. So I kind of like that knockout prop for Seung Choi. The under is the main play. Maybe adding on Seung Choi as a side here. We'll see before the day ends. Marlon Chito Vera taking on Davey Grant, getting to the top of the card here. Vera came in at 136. Davey Grant came in at 135.5. Classic Cheeto on the scales, no issues, really feeling himself, enjoying himself. This guy has blossomed into a man in front of our very eyes over the last couple of years here in the UFC. So really professional, no problems. Davey Grant, big smile on his face. Another guy, another breath of fresh air in the UFC. Good personality, someone who I really am a fan of. I like to see he interacts well with everybody. He was really relaxed. He looked great on the scales. And this was a really good face-off. Slight size advantage, Davey Grant. We know that. This is a rematch. We've seen these guys size up before, so nothing has changed there. You could tell there was a mutual respect. When these guys faced off, they shook hands. It was, they're running it back and they're not on bad terms or anything like that. This is going to be a fun fight. I'm already on the dog here with Davey Grant. I felt like the line was just too wide. That's all it came down to. Davey Grant won the first fight. I think Davey Grant's streaking right now, and he's got the tools to win the rematch. Obviously, Marlon Vera is a killer. He's a guy that could get a knockout blow. He's a guy that could get a submission on this dude. But if he doesn't, he's going to be too low volume. He's going to get outworked for 15 minutes. He's going to drop a decision. So I like Davey Grant. I took the value on the dog. That's the side that I'm on for this one. And this one could go the distance because of Vera's durability, or it could go under with both these guys having massive finishing potential. So a couple of different things to think about on that fight. Co-main event, my boy, the boa constrictor, old man Alexia Olenek, came in at 225 pounds. He kept his shirt on, which was a bit of a red flag. He gave the one-arm flex. Obviously, this guy could fight back in his prime at like 185, so no problems making the 228 or the heavyweight limit here. He was in a good mood as always. Another person who I just really, really love. I put a tweet out the other day. I love Alexia Olenek. I love his consummate positive attitude. I'm really going to miss this guy when he retires. He's so fun. He's good on the microphone. He just is a delight to listen to talk. Sergey Spivak came in at 242. Big boy. I mean, he comes in, he's thick. He gave a good flex. He's a little bit flabby, but he's one of those heavyweight types where he carries a little extra mass, and that's not a bad thing for him because he likes to go to that grappling. When they faced off, it's apparent these are different weight classes. Sergey was much bigger than Alexia Olenek. Now, we knew that was going to happen. Sergey is a real heavyweight prospect. Alexia Olenek should be fighting at 185 or 205, but he's fighting on the heavyweight career path at the end of his career here. But then, Alexei took his shirt off. Dude's in shape. When he kept the shirt on for the face-offs, for the weigh-ins, I was a little bit worried that he was phoning it in. I was a little bit like, oh no, my guy Alexei's showing up for a paycheck this time. I was legitimately scared that he kept the shirt on because he really was showing up just to get a payday and go home. But when he came into the face-offs, he pulled the shirt off and boy's got abs. He's in good shape. I may be taking my one last ride on Alexia Olenek. I know, I can hear you all. No, Clint, don't do it. I can hear it. I love Alexia Olenek, and I think he's got a legitimate shot here to catch a young green fighter, especially a young fighter whose best game plays straight into the hands of Alexia Olenek. Ezekiel choke. Round 2. Ezekiel choke, round 2. I am calling my shot. I think Alexia Olenek catches the kid once he gets into his panic wrestle or his groove, his automatic takedown. It's something he's been drilling, something he's been training, and he sees the opportunity, takes it, puts him on the mat, and then realizes, oh shit, this is Alexia Olenek I just took down. I think that's the way this thing's going to play out. I might take the dog here. He's a big fat plus 200 right about now, so might be worth a shot. And hey, I just got paid by robbing Rory McDonald blind, so I might roll over that good karma and take that lucky horseshoe that's in my ass and see if we can get one over with the old man boa constrictor here on Saturday. Main event time, Chan Sung Jung taking on Dan Ige. Both men came in at 146 on the dot. Chan Sung Jung, he looked great. He's got abs for days. You could see it solid, the way he moved, really good. Can't complain whatsoever. He looks ready to go. Fight ready, folks. They make monsters out of men. Dan Ige came in and he needed the box of shame. He seemed really annoyed that he needed the box of shame, actually. You could see it on his face. He was just not excited about that. He moved well, though. No issues. I don't think there's going to be a problem or anything like that. I think they might have just missed the weight cut by like a half pound or something. Height advantage went to Zombie. You usually expect that with Dan Ige. Very respectful face-off. Both guys look confident and ready to go. This is a spot where I am very, very much considering taking that stab on the Korean Zombie. We've seen nothing in the MMA betting community but love for Dan Ige. He's tipped into being slight favorite here, minus 125, minus 130, which means you can get plus 100, plus 105, plus 110 on the Korean Zombie here in this spot. The Korean Zombie who, in my opinion, has fought a better level of competition. The Korean Zombie who has moved to Fight Ready, which is my favorite camp in the world, and have done amazing things with fighters that we've seen already. The Korean Zombie who a lot of people knock on being a finish or bust type of guy, but was 1 second away from beating Yair Rodriguez in a 5-minute title fight before he got hit with one of the most ridiculous elbows the world has ever seen that nobody could possibly see coming, and went down in that spot. I think the Korean Zombie, I think this is an appropriately lined pick'em fight, but I think that the love has swung too much in the favor of Dan Ige. It's close. It's thin. You can make an argument for either of these guys, and if you want to pay minus 125 for Dan Ige, I can't really argue it or talk you out of it, but getting plus 110 or plus 115 on the Korean Zombie, the kind of shape he's in, the slight size advantage that he's going to have, the fact that he moved to a gym like Fight Ready shows me that he's still motivated, looking for the title. I think I might have to take that shot. So, again, this isn't really a post-weigh-in read. He looked excellent. We knew he was going to look good. Both these guys are professionals, so I can't say that this is the big post-weigh-in fist bump. This is my spot. This was kind of how I was leaning throughout the entire week, and now the line's getting better for me, so I kind of feel like I have to take it. One thing I was talking about with my guy Jay from the Sports Keg, Korean Zombie was a massive favorite over Brian Ortega when they fought. And if you think about that, we're getting massive line value here against Dan Ige, because Brian Ortega showed up. Yes, he surprised everybody, but they were expecting the Zombie to do work in that fight. They were expecting him to be the much better fighter in that spot. So now all of a sudden he's the dog in his very next fight. That feels like an overcorrection. Regardless of whether or not the bet cashes, I feel like that's the value side. I think you're getting a lot of line value on the Zombie. And you know me, I'm willing to roll those dice. That is the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show, folks. Thank you very much. Make sure you click the like button here. Hammer it. Share this video out there. Give me a retweet on Twitter. Subscribe to Pub Sports Radio if you haven't already. Give me a follow at Die Hard MMA Pod on Twitter if you want to chat or if you want to talk about these fights, anything like that. That is the best place to find me. Hit me up in the comments section below. Let me know your favorite bet for UFC Vegas 29. Good luck on all your degenerate action, everybody, and let's roll. See you tomorrow.